foreign to me. So I was like, oh, that was definitely UFO. And then when my dad said like he retired as playing at Area 51, and like that conversation was like,
every time I'm in the street, I hear yak, 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 yak.
Men down.
Today we have a special guest, one of the most badass people that person that I know, Alev. So much like she has so much presence, just energy. She's a leader, captain. She does it all. Just introduce yourself and like just tell us like a little intro about like what you do.
Yeah, no, I'm really honored to be on with you guys. Like Adam and Owie, you guys are wonderful. And Adam, just meeting you, but Owie, we spent the last 100 days together, like doing a leadership course. So it's been awesome to get to know you. Yeah, so my name's Alev Kelter. I'm from Eagle River, Alaska, and I currently play on the U.S. Women's Olympic Rugby team. And we are gearing up for Tokyo in the end of July. So.
How excited are you like saying that? I could see the smile on your face when you were saying that. Like the energy that you had, you were like, oh.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting. I mean, you never, we're like, you know how it is with the home thing. I'm cooking eggs over here. I can hear it. Sorry if you can hear in the background. Yeah, no, it's for me, that's a dream come true, to just be running around playing rugby for a living. Like that's a blessing to say. And to have it be at the, world-class level is, there's no words for it. Just, it's an honor to represent our country that you love.
Yeah. You've told me a little bit of like how you started. So you're actually doing hockey, like ice hockey. And how did you transition into rugby? Like how did that?
That's a good question. So because I was in Alaska, I played ice hockey. Everyone had like rinks in their backyards. Not everyone, but even every elementary school, high school always had a rink. So when we went out to play, it was let's go out and skate. And we didn't have a female hockey team at the time, but our high school had a boys hockey team. So I played boys hockey growing up, and that just like for me that was normal. And with boys hockey you can check. So you always put a shoulder in somebody. So it was pretty already from a young age already hitting people. And played soccer too growing up. So there was a mixture of, a summer sport and a winter sport, and had success from boys hockey translating to Wisconsin. I went to the University of Wisconsin-Madison and played both Division I soccer and ice hockey for them, and was a recruited athlete to play there. So yeah, I think my childhood just consisted a lot of just every sport you can imagine playing it. And I think that was genius of my mom to keep, because I'm a twin, to keep us out of trouble instead of us just like running.
The ice hockey with these guys, it almost like roughed you up, and then you're like, you know what, I'm just gonna do rugby and like take it out on some people.
Exactly, yeah. And so for me, it was already natural to put a shoulder in somebody, and just like with that transition. So I played with the U.S. Under 22 national soccer team and the full national ice hockey team, and was on track to, so you do like youth development, right? ODP, Olympic Development Program for soccer, and then it's called Selects with hockey, and was on both youth national teams growing up since I was 14 until I was 26, 27. And, but yeah, so I was after college in the running to play with the Olympic ice hockey team in Sochi in 2014, and was cut from that program before making the residency squad that ends up going to the Olympics. So that was pretty devastating. And after that transition, I found rugby, and the coach actually gave me a call and said, hey, rugby is going to be the first time ever in the Olympics in 2016. Are you interested in transitioning? And he was a Canadian ice hockey player. And so he's like, I know you have a screw loose somewhere. Like, let's do it. Let's play some rugby. And that was great because he took a chance. He had a vision that, I couldn't see at that time, right? Of how they would correlate well with each other. So yeah, that's where it began.
Amazing. I'm sure emotionally, like after you got cut from the ice hockey team, it must have been like such a low for you. And
Absolutely.
to recruit you, actually call you, that I can't even imagine like how uplifting that must have been.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's, for me in college, I struggled a lot with, just playing two sports and feeling like I was just a number, right? Like I was recruited to play, so sports almost had more gravity than my academics. And for me, that was a challenge because I always loved the idea that it went student and then athlete, and that you really needed an education because at any given time you could get injured, and you know your worth isn't in just playing as an athlete. And so I always battled with, you know, there's thousands and thousands of student athletes at this school, and am I just one of them? You know, and so for me it was, you know, being cut from the Olympic team. I struggled with that dynamic. It wasn't until later, you know, like as an 18-year-old, you think you have your eyes set on the highest Olympic dream, and then you fall short, and it's an overwhelming sense of I failed. You know, I'm not worthy. They don't want me. I'm just a number, right? Like, and these are the stories I was telling myself. And yeah, so hearing that phone call, hey, we would love to, you know, get you out to San Diego and run around and just see if you like rugby. Like, there's no pressure, just come out like that. I decided to take the risk and say yes. Like, I would love to give another sport a try and, you know, see what this is about. So yeah, like, yeah.
It's crazy how powerful our mind is, and the way we can like dictate all these stories to ourselves and say we're not enough. And I'm actually a lonely child. I don't have any siblings. Obviously you have a twin.
Is that what you call yourself? Only child.
Only child.
Yeah.
You said,
I heard lonely child.
Did I say lonely child?
Yeah, only child.
I'm a lonely child. I'm also an only child. Yeah. But I was going to ask you, like, how it must have been so nice to have a twin kind of push you, like, in the sporting world and just be that. Because I definitely remember times like because I was really into athletics growing up, trying to motivate myself and not necessarily always having that because I didn't have someone to push me. Explain like that process.
Yeah, 100%. I say that, like, growing up with a twin, your best friends sleep over every night, you know, and I know that it just time we wanted to go outside and play. It was always some sort of competition, like how many cars can we hit here, or how many. I just remember one time, like, we got in so much trouble. We started shooting pucks at our garage door because we liked the way it sounded, and then it was like black and dense everywhere, and we got so much trouble. But it was like, if I didn't have her, it would have just been like, okay, like, oops, I hit the garage. But we were like, no, that sounds really cool, like, let's go. And that's why I was like, man, my mom is a saint. My mom and dad are saints, because I mean, we were absolute hellions growing up, but having Alaska as a playground was such a blessing too, because, you know, it truly is like massive and rugged and get outside and play kind of area. So yeah, just having her to run around and build tree forts and climb mountains with, it was just tremendous to have that company.
I love that. I can't even imagine what it's like living in Alaska. Where did you go? So you went to San Diego to go play rugby, like, after, or were you?
Yeah, so I was born actually in Tampa, Florida. My dad was in the military. He was in the Air Force, and so before we were 8, we moved from 8. Before I was 8 years old, we moved from Florida to Texas to Colorado to Arkansas up to Alaska, and so from 8 on, I stayed. My dad got out of the military when we were like 12 in Alaska, and so that's what I consider home. Is from 8 to college, you know, and that's really what I remember. And it's an Eagle River, and then Alaska is just like outside of Anchorage, so it's a smaller suburb of the biggest city in Alaska. And then went to play college hockey and soccer at Wisconsin, and then after the end of my 5th year, I was 5th year senior, yes, took 5 years to graduate, not playing 2 Division I sports and getting an art degree. Like, I'm not ashamed of that. And then went from this, packed up everything, having the opportunity to play in San Diego for rugby. I ended up packing up all my stuff in Wisconsin and driving down to San Diego, and have been here since. So it's been about 6, almost 7 years.
When you went to the Olympics in 2016, how was that feeling? Just like being on the field, and I'm sure just like hearing your name and just like running on the field, and like,
yeah, again, it's.
Where did you like land? I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah. So so just like the history of it is like I first got called up to play rugby in December of 2014 or 2013. first touched a rugby ball at January 2014, was welcomed with the biggest open arms you can imagine to these women who are like strong and professional and just amazing. And they're also like, this rugby went from a social sport to then an Olympic sport, and they're now in that transition between like what is it like to be a professional athlete and you know, putting rugby as the front. So they've stopped their professional careers to give this a shot. And like that, to me, that selflessness of like, I want this team to be so successful that anyone that we see as a decent athlete, like we'll give them every ounce of knowledge. Like that just didn't happen in hockey or soccer. Like everyone was very much like withholding, you know, like in a way that's, to me, it was like, I had something you didn't know, or you need to learn this. And, you know, it was harder that way, you know, to be a part of a family, you know. And this rugby's camaraderie was just what was so attractive to me, is that these women were like, here, this is how you tackle, not this way because that's going to knock you out. Like this is how you pass. And it wasn't the coaching staff, it was all the women that were there, and so willingly giving me that, knowing that I might be one of the 12 taking their spot. Like that just showed a sense of selflessness I had never seen. Right. And so that was how, like, so then that was January of 2014. March of 2014, I was contracted. So 3 months later. And then I drove out to California at the end of March to live there full time. And then 2 short years later, after first ever touching a rugby ball, I was blessed to be one of the 12 to represent US in Rio. And that, there's no words for that. Like for me, I look all to my teammates, because it's like a miracle to say you first touched a rugby ball in January, and then 2 years later you're on the Olympic team. Like what? And so it just shows you like the testament of like selflessness, and the testament of like these women, and how much of a family and the camaraderie is so strong there, that someone can go from never touching a rugby ball to being on the Olympic team is like hands down like a miracle, short of a miracle, you know. So I honestly, like people say it's cliche, I wouldn't be there without my teammates, but that's honest. And yeah, so being one of the 12 to go to Rio, I remember we stopped in Houston to do, this is like a longer version, but I'll be quick, to stop and do like basically like check-in, you know, with all the Olympic athletes. You get all your gear, all the sponsorships, and, you know, like Omega watches and Oakley and Nike, you get all your kit that says like US, the United States Olympic team on the crest. And it wasn't until I walked in to like the Nike room where we're getting all our stuff, like the bags were laid out. There's like my name written in lights on this mirror, and they're like, someone's fitting you. And I was like, holy crap.
It hit
like
you.
That's when it hit me, you know. It was just like, you know, the team was named a week before that, and it was on an email. And I remember I was giving a speech at a Catholic school at the time, and I was like, remember like refreshing my thing like in front of all these kids, like, and then I like they were able to celebrate with me, you know. And so like that was kind of exciting, but this was the moment that I was like, wow, the crest is over my heart, like what this is crazy. And I get chills just talking about it right now. But like, you know, we have you know, who all walks of life, you know, and we're coming together in like this unified form next to like Michael Phelps, who's getting his stuff, and, you know, Serena and Simone, and like, you know, all these names. And you're like, dang, like there's something about that that's like, that just is there's no words for it. It just seems like the ultimate.
Like, always said it, but like we can just see your excitement like for 2020, like, or 2021. Like,
yeah, I got pushed back. Yeah,
energy. But can you explain, like, was there any pressure? Because honestly, it sounds like when you were in the Olympics in 2016, I mean, you make it sound like you lean on your teammates a lot, and that's not something you really had in your previous sports. So what was it like gearing up mentally for it?
That's so good. Yeah, no. So for me, it just seemed like everyone was when we go to playing, it seemed like everyone was so excited because this is the first ever we were pioneering. So anything we did was history, which is crazy to think about because this was the first ever that women's rugby was in the Olympics. And so like having that on our shoulders, we were like, wow, we're writing history, and that's amazing. And that to me was something I wanted to be a part of. I wanted to see something start and then grow. And I think we had a number written on the board our second or third game. It was like 84,300,000 something. Like, that's how many people watched our game. And so that was what we were inspired by, was like, look at what we're doing for women's rugby. Look at what we're doing for strong women, like empowerment. And so that was cool. But I do think that what I was missing in hockey and soccer, like previously, like was, I did have my plate spread pretty thin. Like I was playing 2 Division I sports and also getting an art degree. And so the emphasis I had in relationships with my teammates wasn't necessarily the quality that I had with rugby, because I wasn't investing. And I think that that's something that I realized, that I was so caught up in statistics, like plus minus stats, or like how many wins and losses and who you're coming up against and what does that look like, and very detailed in that percentage of my career, but not relationships with my teammates, like the trust and the camaraderie and getting to know them. And so I had the time now, without school, without hockey or soccer, like just focus on me and that team mentality. And so for me, like having been cut from the Olympic team for hockey, I was like, I'm going to do something different. And that is going to be fully invested in this, and not be split with my time, just fully invest and fully be all in. And I think that transition helped me mentally be open to receiving and to giving like myself fully to my teammates. And I think I lost sight of the question you had, but
just mentally, like how you even prepared for it.
Yeah,
Honestly.
So I do think that we were so caught up in, as a team, getting there, like that there was a lot of stuff that we played a very individual style of play on the pitch. So we were so excited that like us being there as the first ever, that we were very like already almost accomplished versus like playing. So but mentally, like now that we've had that experience of being at the big show and then not connecting fully as a team, that was our like, response when we were done with Rio. Like that was our debrief, was that like we were still super individuals, just excited to be there. Now we are autonomous, beautiful, like individuals that are like coming together to make this like, amazing, strong chemistry that just can't be broken. And like we said, we weren't going to leave any rock unturned in this process, meaning like everything, and like we're going to learn how to talk to each other, we're going to give each other feedback, like we're going to do it all, even if it's hard. We're going to have those conversations. And so mentally right now, that's, even in this time with COVID, like America as a country is still learning rugby.
Yeah.
We're not at Kiwis or Australias or South Africans, right? Like, and so we've been this like sleeping giant, right? Like that's what they say. And like this COVID time actually helped us to not only like come together and be resilient as a team, but also like gave us a couple more months to like strategically get our game together.
Yeah, that was like a question I had, definitely.
Yeah, and so like mentally, like that actually provided some deep insights into like, wow, this is a blessing. Like we really want to use this opportunity, right? Instead of focus on the negatives, like really transition this to a positive, and how can we use this? And so we bought into that as a team, and that's that buy-in and being all in and investing in each other. Like that's where our mentality is right now, and that's what we were lacking, I think, in Rio. It was just like we were so excited to be there, and now it's like we're so excited to be there, and it's an honor. But now we want to show the world what American rugby looks like, and we're confident we can do that.
And it's crazy, like Alev, that's like how you show up. That's how you showed up to me, like since we met, and that's how you like show up just in general, like that team and like connectedness. It's just insane, like how you've transitioned that into like I'm sure every sport that you played.
Thank you.
Wait, for viewers, just explain how you two met, because I think it's funny.
Oh yeah, so we met at this emotional intelligence training in Vegas, and it's still crazy. I looked across like the room, and she was so powerful, like just so strong. I was like, yeah, she's definitely an athlete, but I didn't think anything of it. I didn't think anything of it.
It's cool because everybody's somebody in that room, you know, like always like, you know, he's this badass too. And like, you just like, you look around and you're just like all sitting in these chairs, and it's like experiential learning. So instead of like writing down like seminar style stuff, it's like you're really put into life scenarios. And like basically what that room was a representation of what you do in life, and you learn a lot about who you are as a leader and your tactics and your style and what you can, you know, and then with like honest feedback and, you know, just it's like super cool because it's like sometimes you wait to see the fruits of, you know, like whether or not it's successful or not, and like in that room it's like you knew whether working or not working right away. Right. And that like was live feedback. You know, it's like I'm like that did work, or what's going on, where are we stuck, why are we stuck here? And so there was a lot of really amazing, and with that, like, because it's challenging, it's very personal and intimate, a family with that, the people in the room, having never met them before.
And I'm sure you love that family aspect part of it.
Exactly. And so for me, like that camaraderie thing already being from rugby was like, I all I know is that we're going to be better together. And the more honest we are, which is what it was beautiful, because it showed that even with strangers, like it's successful to be transparent and honest and just like give each other respect. And that transitioned, helped me transition really back to my team, my Olympic team, and saying like, this investment in each other, I knew was like a ticket, like, but having had that experience in that classroom was like, now that's the golden ticket. Like the Olympics, the gold medal, these are all outcomes. But like, what's going to happen is that at any given day, the team that is most connected, the team that cares about each other, that goes back and picks up people and pulls them across the finish line, is the team that's going to win that gold medal.
The intrinsic v the like extrinsic.
100%. Like it's not the bells or whistles. It's like the process.
Yeah.
You know, it's not the outcome. And like you talk about athletes being present, and it's like, how long can you extend that presence? You know, like that's what you're trying to do, is like, our game is 14 minutes long. It's 2 7-minute halves. So it's sevens rugby, not traditional 15s rugby. And any like 2 minutes, like being like distracted for like 30 seconds or like 15 seconds, like that can be a game win or a game lost. I mean, a game won or a game lost, you know? So anyways, back to how we met. Like, yeah, that's how we met. And it was just, it's really cool to have. That's why I think the connection is so strong, because we spent the last 100 days like really working on as a team to, you know, we just finished a legacy project, which is fundraising for a nonprofit, where we raised $114,000 in 9 days or 8 days. Yeah. I mean, it's like, we're not only like learning about ourselves as leaders, but then we're applying it back to the real world. And I'm not going to lie, it's like, it's been a challenge, and there's been a lot of stuff in my mind and a lot of like things in my heads that I've had to overcome. And it's,
we had some doubts too.
it's not for everyone, but at the same time, like, let's like come together and see what type of miracles we can produce together. So that's cool.
Absolutely. I was just going to ask real quick. So you're in that room, you're at the intelligence course. The first time you see Owie, is he giving you confident eye contact, or is he looking down a little bit? Like, tell me, what would you like?
I mean, I knew Owie was special from the beginning, because I just think his smile, like, how can he hide anything behind that smile, you know? So I was like, we had to do this, you know, this exercise where you had to be honest. And I think for me, Owie was like, what he showed me in that moment was that he's loving, that he's caring, that he is like fully present, like looking at me. And I don't know your experience of him or how you guys met, but for me, he showed up as like, I'm here and I'm confident and I will help you in whatever you need. And I was like, damn. And that was actually without words. So that was my experience really at the beginning. So
yeah, thank you for that. It's insane, because I didn't know like what you did and all the things that you like had accomplished, and like all these accolades and all these things, only after like I think it was like middle of breakthrough, someone told me that you were in the Olympics, and I'm like, oh, like you're so down to earth, and you don't brag about it, or you're just humble as hell. Like if you were walking down the street, I know you would respect each individual equally, and that's like something that everyone doesn't have, and it's just like so amazing to see that you've always been that humble.
Yeah, I think everyone's has that is successful has come from somewhere, and I think really like tuning into that, like what made this person who they are, like that to me, and maybe it's the artist in me, but just to see that the process is so beautiful because you might not reach the outcome, you might not get that gold medal, but like doesn't mean that everything behind that is not worth it, right? And that's the lesson that I learned with the hockey, like that I'm not a failure, that it's not about my yeses or nos in life, it's about my purpose. And so if you really truly respect people like that, you can see their purpose and you can see who they are as just beautiful people. So
I wanted to ask,
cool, thanks. Oh yeah, that's great.
what do you what do you see yourself doing after rugby and after sport? Like the next,
Yeah, no, that's a great question.
Great question.
Yeah, ask myself that every day. But yeah, what is it? For me, like my family has a long line of pilots, Air Force pilots. I think flying a plane would be amazing, and doing that for a living. You know, whether it's being a commercial pilot or having my own sightseeing or touring company. That mixed with coffee. I love coffee, and like I started roasting my own beans, and just being for me, like a cup of coffee with somebody is really intimate and personal, and you can get just sitting down and having one-on-one time with people is something I love. So that inspiration from coffee led to I want to like coach or teach or do something with coffee. Like it's really uh, like vague right now, but for me it would be my dream is to have my own plane and have that be a source of revenue, and then coach collegiately or Olympic level rugby, and then have like a coffee business that really focuses on giving back and serving the community. So
I love
I
that.
love the wavelength you're on. I love the wavelength you're on. But honestly, like, have you always kind of had this, I guess, style of thinking? Say the emotional intelligence course really helped shape that, or is it?
I've always been very outward focused, and also like for like, driven and this like high frequency, like thinking that there's one task and then there's another task, but in between those two tasks, like that's where you find yourself. And I know that like the drive and the competitive nature that I had with my twin like was a healthy relationship with competition, and that I think has developed me into this very like goal oriented driven person. And what I think the EQ class helped me with was really investing in the relationship, even more so than where I'm just like, yes, you're part of this team, yes, let's go, you're like being inclusive, but like very one-on-one. So like that's I think where the coffee thing really helped was I do enjoy the one-on-one aspect with people, not just the full team, and I don't want to lose that. And I'm not sure if I answered your question fully, but I think that the class helped with the detail of things, but my overall personality was always very this is who I am. So, and the coolest thing about this class is that it's what you put into it is what you're going to get out, and this journey is so different. So it's, yeah.
No, it's crazy because like with Owie, I remember like when he finished the course at first, and he was just a lot more like he'd call me. He's like, I guess a lot more outgoing with it. Like this is what's happened, like able to express himself, and I was like, whoa, who's this Owie? First of all,
that's wonderful.
Like I loved it. It was so like honest, and it was like refreshing to see because I feel like a lot of people kind of keep their emotions to themselves, so they feel it's weak if they show them. And coming to this realization that expressing who you are, like not only does it benefit you, but other people can learn from your experiences too.
100%.
And that's definitely like something I started to realize.
And that's the whole thing, is that we need to share more. Like we need to share our experiences and be vulnerable way more, and learn how to do that with empathy, and learn how to be there and support people with empathy. And it's a lot more than just like, here's a line you say, here's a hug you give, there's a lot that goes in between of like, why am I showing up the way I'm showing up? And why is it selective? And why do these people, get XYZ of me? And it's like, how can we make all these 10 out of 10 relationships? How can we make our business reach extraordinary results? So it's pretty cool.
What's your daily routine? I'm just curious. I've never.
Yeah, you've never asked. You're like, no. There's not really a set time I wake up because we're in and out of the training facility because of COVID, but usually where I'm at the training center by 7:30. We train at the Olympic Training Center in Chula Vista. It's outside of San Diego, about 15 minutes. And they have a full kitchen and amazing chefs that are wonderful. But we have breakfast there at 7:30 as a team. We have 2 training sessions in between, like 9, like an hour training session from like 9 to 10. We go back for second breakfast, and like food is I'm very food motivated. And then we have another training session, and in the afternoon it will be either a lift session or film and review. So 3 sessions a day, and that's Monday through Friday. So 7 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Yeah. So.
Just sounds draining, honestly. How have you adapted to that? Is it from the years of repetition over and over again? Or?
Yeah, I mean, it's like I'm not, exactly sure on like what is your forte, but if you don't know like anything else, it's really hard to have a comparison, right? So like I've been in professional sports since I was 14, like the high, like international level, select team. And then each year you're supposed to grow with that program and team and teach you how to be an overarching like international athlete. And so I like, for me, business, being in a corporate like environment is so foreign, and so like I've never had a 9-to-5 job, and I'm almost 30, 29, so it's like there's a lot that I don't feel like I know, but there's a lot that I am confident can translate, and so
Damn, I'm sure you thank your mom like for that, like putting you in that program.
Yeah, oh my gosh, I wanted to do it so many times. Yeah, my family is like the massive support.
Alton, I mean, I'm sure like just being in that environment, I'm sure it shapes you who you are anyway. But I wanted to say, I forgot about this, but I was reading somewhere, maybe I was watching, because you have a podcast with your
girlfriend.
Yeah, with the girlfriend. I believe you talked about like a UFO experience. You like in Alaska or something.
Oh yeah, this is
I wanted
Rugby
to hear
Bricks.
about that.
Yeah, my buddy Peter has a podcast called Rugby Bricks, and he's in New Zealand, or he's in Kiwi, and he loves this idea of I think it's with him. Yeah, it was with him. Of breaking down like rugby into, instead of this like massive like house, like brick by brick, what do you need to learn to be a good rugby player? And he asked me about Alaska, and he's like, I think it came up. I don't know how it came up, but this is how it came up. My dad flew stealth fighters, and he retired his stealth fighter after. Anyway, he retired his plane in Area 51, and and so I was like, oh my gosh, tell me about it, whatever, obviously super confidential, but I was like, are there aliens? And he like couldn't respond, and they're aliens, what the heck? And so, but I was like, I had this experience when I was like out working out on our back deck in Alaska, that it looked like a helicopter, but it had like a 4-point triangle, like a 3-point triangle on the top of it, and it was like spinning like this, and there was like a little body, but then there was like this triangle above it, and it like came down, for me, it like came across the mountainside, and then it just like disappeared. And like, there's no mountains on this side. And so for me to have like lost sight of it in like a split second was just kind of like foreign to me. So I was like, oh, that was definitely UFO. And then when my dad said like he retired his plane at Area 51 and like that conversation was like not fully
okay, then you were like, you connected.
Detailed. I was like, they're aliens, there's UFO, that was UFO. And you know, I won't put any money behind it if anyone's like bet on this, like, you know, it's just it's a fun story. But I do remember being like, wow, like if there are, like that was definitely a moment. So yeah. And then they're gonna be like, yep, this EQ class, yep, it's these guys are crazy.
They're gonna be like
yeah, all my validity of what I just said just went out the window. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, so that's a fun story, but yeah, I'm glad you brought it up.
I think I've had an experience with aliens too in South Africa. The boarding school I went to, me and my friend were like just like looking. So there was this like one view. We're looking, same thing. We're like looking out over at the view. There's no hills or like nothing, and we see this just like object like dart towards us, then just darted away. But it was like it disappeared too, and we just like both like just stared at each other, and we're like, "What?" So I don't know. Yeah, there's something you can't explain.
I feel left out not having my experience. What is this?
Oh yeah, you gotta. I don't know what it was.
Try sometime, I guess.
Or maybe you're not missing out. Who knows?
But Alev, I want to say thank you again for coming on the podcast. It's been crazy having you. Your presence, as everyone can tell, is just insane.
Your energy gave me energy.
Oh, you're awesome, Adam. No, thank you. It's talk about it. It's good to relive it and just get excited again. So it's, you know, you can get caught in the mundane and complacency. So it's really nice to have some energy, momentum behind some of these memories.
Keep it going. You've got this. Yeah, I can't wait to watch that. It's gonna be crazy. Like,
thank you. Yeah, we believe it, and it's part of it is that intention, right? We're gonna win a gold medal in Tokyo, and yes. I don't know what month, because I don't know what month we're gonna have the Olympics, but you know, that's
You've
the
got
intention.
The togetherness. It's gonna go well.
Yeah. Thank you, Owie. Thank you, Adam, for having me.